Welcome everybody, my name is Nicholas here at Dutch Mill Greenhouse, and today we're going to be doing a little cooking demonstration. Talking about all the ways you can bring your gardens into the kitchen this fall. So first thing we're going to talk about is cherry tomatoes. I know if your garden is anything like mine, I'm just overflowing with cherry tomatoes, bursting at the seams. So let's start off with, it's late in the season, all your plants still have tons of cherry tomatoes on them. You've made caprese salad, you've made salsa. What's left to do? Let's talk about some ways that we can preserve some of those cherry tomatoes and have unique ways to use them. So we're going to start off by making roasted cherry tomatoes. Now this is super simple. We're just going to grab a sheet tray here, we're going to preheat our oven to 355 degrees, and we're just going to fill our sheet tray full of tomatoes. One of the things about cherry tomatoes is when you're harvesting them, you want to make sure you remove this little green calyx, because as you put them in a bowl on your counter, this calyx eventually gets hard, and what happens is it pokes holes in your other tomatoes. It essentially ruins your shelf life. So if you go ahead and peel these off when you're picking them or before you put them in the bowl, your tomatoes are going to last much longer on your countertop. Okay, once we have our tomatoes on our tray, we're going to go ahead and take our olive oil. We're just going to give them a good drizzle, and we're going to add a little bit of salt. Not a lot, just a little bit. Get these all shook up, totally coated in oil. These are going to go into your oven at 350 for about 35 minutes, 35-40 minutes. What you're looking for when you open the oven and take a peek at them is the skin starting to peel back from the tomato and sort of look wrinkly. This is really important because what we're doing in the oven is we're concentrating all of these tomato flavors. All the sugar inside these cherry tomatoes is going to caramelize inside the oven. So once you've roasted your cherry tomatoes, you're going to end up with something like this. Now there's lots of ways you can preserve these cherry tomatoes for later use. You can throw them in baggies and put them in the freezer. You can water bath can them like I did here, so it's shelf stable and ready to go all throughout the rest of the year. So now you have your cherry tomatoes. There's lots of things you can do with these. One of my favorites is a simple pasta dish. You can dump this whole thing of cherry tomatoes into, let's say, a pot of angel hair pasta for a nice, quick, easy meal. Another thing we can do is what we're going to do today is we're going to make cherry tomato turnovers. These are going to be a great addition to your appetizer table this coming Thanksgiving. So growing up, my father was a chef, not a pastry chef, mind you. So what we had growing up a lot was these frozen puff pastry sheets. These frozen sheets are really convenient. You just pull them out a couple minutes ahead of time so they have time to slack out. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and cut our squares. And this is already folded in thirds, so that's perfect. We're just going to follow that line. Now let's put together our filling. So they're going to have a cherry tomato and goat cheese filling. Let's go ahead and put that together. So pulling out our ingredients, first off our cherry tomatoes. We're going to have a little bit of goat cheese, some seasonings, and some tomato paste. Let's start by getting our goat cheese in our bowl. Now this has been sitting out a little bit, so it's nice and soft. It's going to be really easy to work with. Now when we're roasting those cherry tomatoes, the whole pan is going to be full of this delicious, delicious juice. Don't get rid of that. As a matter of fact, you want to pack your cherry tomatoes in with that juice because it's super valuable and you can use it for lots of things. So to start off, we're going to go ahead and drain our cherry tomatoes, keeping that beautiful juice in this little bowl. Now we're going to take a couple of these cherry tomatoes and we're just going to scoop them right into with our cheese. Now Christmas is coming up. If you don't have one of these yet, this is my favorite kitchen tool. This is an immersion blender. You can zip all kinds of things together. We're going to zip these fillings together. I'm talking about soups, salad dressings, even mashed potatoes. I love this thing for that. We're also going to add a little bit of tomato paste. Now I love the tomato paste in a tube because when I use a can, there's always a little weird can in the back of my fridge not doing anything, taking up space. So this tube fits nice in the door and it's really convenient, easy to use, very clean. We're also going to add a little bit of onion powder, just a little bit, use your heart to measure, and some freeze-dried chives. We're going to take our trusty immersion blender and zip everything up. All right, so let's take our spoon, let's fill these guys up. Now we just need a little dollop in the center. We don't need a ton, because otherwise we'll just have a blowout. All the filling will come out the side when we cook it. But if that happens, that's okay. No one's perfect. We're gonna throw a couple cherry tomatoes inside here, give it a little texture. Let's go ahead and fold these together. We're just gonna bring the corners together and pinch along the sides. And we'll go ahead and lay them out in a sheet tray. Now that we have all of our turnovers on the tray, we're going to go ahead and pop this into our preheated oven at 355 degrees for about 45 minutes. Check on them after a half hour, and we're just looking to get the right amount of browning. So once your cherry tomato turnovers come out of the oven, they're going to look something like this. And this is what we're looking for, a nice golden brown color. And you can see some of them have a little bit of a blowout on the side. Perfectly fine, they're still going to taste amazing. Remember that tomato liquid that we saved beforehand? This is where it comes into play. We're going to use this and make a tomato icing to go over top of our cherry tomato turnovers. We're going to start with our liquid, and we're just going to start adding powdered sugar. We're going to whisk that together until we get the consistency that we like. A little thin, I'll add a little bit more powdered sugar. Now if you're going to make these turnovers and you want to use sweet ingredients like cinnamon and apples or cherry pie filling, you can go ahead and make this icing the same way, but don't use tomato liquid, use a little bit of orange juice first. That'll give you a nice sweet icing to go atop your sweet treats. So now that we have the icing, the consistency that we're looking for, we're going to go ahead and ice some of our tarts. Now you can make these tarts ahead of time, but wait to put the icing on until a couple minutes before you're going to serve, because it's going to make them a little bit soggy if you do this ahead of time. Now these little tarts are ready to serve. Make a great appetizer for your next fall get-together. So that's our cherry tomato turnovers with goat cheese filling. If you have any questions or you want to come down and talk tomatoes, come on down to the garden center. We'll talk about all the tomatoes and other wonderful vegetables we're going to have available in the springtime. And don't forget to stay tuned for even more episodes about how you can bring your fall garden into the kitchen to create those beautiful fall flavors for you and your family.